Hello and welcome to the third instalment of the Investment Insight series, Magellan Minutes. We aim to bring our investors relevant, timely and thought-provoking investment insights in around 10 minutes. It's been great to see the positive feedback we've received since we started the series about 1 year ago. A lot has happened since we caught up in December, with the vaccine rollout well underway globally, and also the effects of the stimulus packages which are washing through the system, from ESG to infrastructure, luxury to financials. We discuss the issues and developments in the sectors and stocks in our global portfolios. My name is Jennifer Herbert, Key Account Manager at Magellan, and I'm here today with Magellan's investment analyst, Adrian Lu. Today we're going to talk about why enterprises are gravitating towards the cloud and recent threats of cybersecurity. Thanks for joining me, Adrian.
Thank you, Jen. It's great to be here with you again.
So in the past, we've spoken about the public cloud as an investment theme. I thought we might explore this a little further to get an understanding of what you mean by the cloud and who the leaders are.
Certainly, Jen. The term cloud is actually a very broad term that can refer to a number of different things. And people often mean different things when they talk about cloud, depending on the context. When I talk about the very large global scale public cloud vendors, I'm referring to three dominant players here: Amazon Web Services, or AWS, Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, and Microsoft Azure. You'll often hear these guys being referred to as the hyperscale cloud vendors in industry parlance.
And at a high level, what are these hyperscale vendors providing?
What they do is provide infrastructure, hardware and software for companies to be able to rent on demand over the internet. If you think about the things that a company would have historically bought for its own data centers, things like server hardware, networking and storage equipment, and all the infrastructure software that runs on top of it, these are all things that they can now spin up very quickly on demand. We use the term public cloud to refer to the fact that these resources can be shared by multiple end customers, which can make it more efficient.
So you're saying it's a combination of hardware and software?
That's right. I would just make the distinction here that there is a category of application software known as software as a service, or SaaS. I think an easy way to think of it is this is typically the software end users like you and I would typically touch. But in the context of our discussion, I'm referring to the layers of technology that sit beneath these applications. And you'll often hear the term infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service, or PaaS for short, to refer to these things. An example of PaaS software might be database management or application development, which is really the tools that you use to build some of this software.
Right, so as I understand it, there could be a number of reasons why companies would choose to move some of their IT to the cloud, and those reasons often vary by customer. What would you say is the most common benefit for customers doing this?
Look, I think being able to reduce the hurdles and time it takes to generate business value is definitely one of the key attractions of moving to the cloud. I think a classic way to illustrate this is, in the past, a company looking to expand its IT resources might have to consider procuring all the necessary rack space and hardware, purchase all of its software licenses, provision and install and configure everything, all at a considerable upfront cost through projects that would take time and people to execute. Now, there are still good reasons, I think, why a company would want to or even should do all of these things. And there is a whole other topic on hybrid landscapes that we haven't even gotten into yet. But what the cloud does is it allows customers to effectively bypass all of this and bring up all of these resources with just a few mouse clicks. I'm simplifying it, of course, but it conveys the idea.
It sounds like it gives customers a lot more flexibility.
Exactly. And you've hit on a really important benefit of the cloud there, Jen, which is the flexibility and the agility that it affords customers. An example of this is the ability to very quickly scale up your resources with the rest of your business. So as an example, I may have a company based here in Australia, but I could very quickly expand my resources into Asia or Europe or the Americas along with the rest of my business as I extend or expand into those regions, or to support a growing customer base, or even to comply with data regulations, or even the ability to very quickly start up new projects or proof of concepts on demand. These are really powerful tools to have at your disposal, particularly with some of the technologies that the hyperscale vendors have on offer.
And are these technologies unique to the cloud?
In many cases, they are. Hyperscale cloud vendors invest tremendously into their platforms, and that makes available to their customers access to scale and innovations that they might not otherwise have had. If you think about the individual customer, often it just doesn't make sense for that individual entity to have to purchase or invest in developing some of these technologies natively. And an example of this might be custom computer chips, which are super expensive to produce, or machine learning platforms, or cutting-edge cybersecurity. These are some of the things that they offer and you have immediate access to.
The cybersecurity's been in the news quite a bit lately, hasn't it?
It certainly has.
Yep.
It certainly has. And it just really serves to remind us that cyber threats aren't going away anytime soon. And what we've found is you could be talking about nation states or criminal networks, but the reality is these are hacking groups that are incredibly well-resourced and becoming increasingly sophisticated as well. And the scary thing, I think, is that nobody's ever completely impervious to these threats at all times. We saw the SolarWinds threat back in December of last year, which infiltrated thousands of customers, including Microsoft, by the way. Although in Microsoft's case, they were able to prevent the hackers from accessing their production systems or customer data, so they were able to get away largely unscathed from it all.
What about the recent hacks on Microsoft's email software that was recently discovered?
Yeah, so for context, about 3 months ago, Microsoft discovered a large-scale hacking campaign that exploited a vulnerability in one of its email software products called Exchange Server. Now, they were able to remediate this very quickly, but the most interesting thing here was that it didn't affect the cloud-based email services that Microsoft offers on Office 365, which enterprise customers are largely migrating to. And I think that speaks to the key benefit that we've talked about in the cloud, which is the ability for these vendors to be able to provide the latest and best-in-class security for their customers. And so I think the question that customers naturally ask themselves is, am I best placed to handle these sophisticated security requirements, or do I leave it to the experts? And in Microsoft, you have a company who trains its cloud security systems on 8 trillion threat signals per day. So they have a pretty good visibility of what's out there. But cyber threats are a key risk that we're very mindful of in our investment portfolio.
Let's zoom back out to the hyperscale cloud vendors more broadly. Any recent takeaways?
Yes, well, we've continued to see strong performance coming out of the public cloud vendors. So it's really been keeping consistent with our cloud growth thematic. The 3 vendors continue to invest very heavily into their businesses, but at the same time, we have to remember they're optimizing for the long term, and it is a long game they're playing. But overall, we feel quite good about the prospects for all 3 of these businesses.
Adrian, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Jen.
And thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Magellan distribution team, and please feel free to share this update with clients and colleagues as you see fit. Thank you.